Hello, I'm Desiree. Welcome to my channel where the shadows come alive and mysteries unfold. Today we will be reacting to the YouTuber who dissolved bodies for $160. Crazy, but let's get right to it.
Christian Palma Gutierrez had the world at his feet. His rap career was just starting to take off, but he needed a little side hustle to keep his music career moving, and his side gig involved dissolving bodies in acid for a local cartel. With these actions, his humanity dissolved too, and he exposed the truly depraved depths that people will do for a quick buck. Christian Palma Gutierrez has been rapping since his teens, and as he grew into his 20s, showed a lot of promise. He amassed 125,000 YouTube subscribers and had two separate Facebook pages with a combined 140,000 followers. He was also scheduled to perform at a music festival in April 2018. He rapped about drugs and violence, with one song named Death Has No Schedule. He portrayed the typical image of a gangster rapper who drove fast cars and motorcycles around poor neighborhoods. Through his YouTube channel, he made $155 to $310 per month, and at 24 years of age, Gutierrez now had a wife and children he needed to provide for. His producer Sismo said he had dreams of growing, of making a living from this, so his parents wouldn't have to struggle anymore, so his family could get ahead. But this video showed a gruesome side to him, which the people who worked with him and his fans thought was fictional. One video showed footage of a bloodied man on the ground with his hands tied. His producer explained, in Oba's case, regarding the video of the tied-up man, it was symbolic, saying he was killing them with his music. In another one of his songs, he raps, quote, "My voice will be the house where they rest in peace, so they are tormented in darkness, but they'll like it." Although the rap career was on the rise, it wasn't paying the bills. It was clear that Gutierrez needed an extra job to keep his music career going. A man named El Cochi got in touch and offered him a job at a mechanical workshop where he earned between $80 and $100 per week. He was also spoken to about other duties he might have to carry out too. Gutierrez was now working for the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. Formed in 2010, this cartel branched off from the Sinaloa cartel to start its own racket. And because they went out on their own, they also waged war with any cartels who dared stop them. This cartel made headlines in 2015 for a series of attacks on security forces and public officials.
The latest cartel target, Mexico's military. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel took the fight to the next level, shooting down a military helicopter with a rocket-propelled grenade, killing people, 6 of them, last week. Look at that.
Gutierrez was clearly working with a dangerous group of people. It would be sooner rather than later that he got caught up in their deadly workings. While Mexico was embroiled with gang violence, the country finally had some good news they could celebrate. Guadalajara was the hometown of Guillermo del Toro, who had recently won Best Picture at the 2018 Academy Awards for The Shape of You. To have such a positive and uplifting international story about someone from Mexico was a breath of fresh air. And for film students at the University of Audiovisual Media in Guadalajara, he was an inspiration. One day in March, 3 film students, Daniel, Salomon, and Marco, went to work on a school film project. They decided to film at a property owned by an aunt of one of the students. Little did they know, they were filming at a hangout spot for the Nueva Plaza gang, and the Jalisco cartel had their eyes peeled on this spot for possible members to attack. They were simply in the wrong place at the wrong time. Suddenly, the students were approached by what looked like policemen holding guns who forced them into a car, but they soon realized that these police uniforms were merely a front. It was the Jalisco cartel, and they thought they were kidnapping possible members of the Nueva Plaza gang. The fact that they were innocently filming in this location wasn't believed, and even if they were members, this would have been the perfect excuse for them to use. They began beating them, and these beatings took such a toll that one of them died. The other 2 were now witnesses to their murder, so they needed to be killed too. That night, at 3 a.m., Gutierrez received an urgent call on his phone. It was from the cartel, and they made reference to pozole, a famous Mexican soup. Gutierrez knew that it would be a different type of soup he would be working on. He told his wife that he was urgently needed at the mechanic workshop and got an Uber ride over. When he arrived, there was a water tank and 3 lifeless bodies. They were tossed into an acid bath head first. The tank was full of hot sulfuric acid. This would firstly dissolve the skin tissue and organs, then eventually dissolve bones and and tea. Sometimes the bath needed to be stirred too, which would speed up the process. But this process takes quite a long time. In fact, Gutierrez left the bodies on the tank to dissolve by themselves and arrived 2 days later to see if it had done its job. If there were any traces of the bodies left, the remaining fluid would go into a drain, and any sludge would be dumped in a nearby field. It was an incredibly gruesome job that most people would refuse to do for any amount of money. Gutierrez, meanwhile, was making $160 for this. The disappearance caused outrage across the country. 30,000 people went missing due to the country's ongoing drug wars, and 3 more had just been added to this figure. And behind those figures were loved ones taken from their families and lives ruined forever. 3 days after their disappearance, students from their college held a protest and urged the authorities to find them before it was too late. "We're students, not criminals," they shouted. "Will I be next?" In solidarity with their message, the staff from the university staged a walkout protest the next day. While all of this was happening, Gutierrez was at home watching the coverage of it on TV. In his testimony, he said, quote, "I started watching the news to see what happened, and I saw that 3 students had disappeared, that they had kidnapped them. And the moment that they showed the photos of the missing, I realized that it dealt with the 3 cadavers that I helped Pozolier. It took only a few days for him to get caught and arrested, and the guilt and anguish was building up inside of him so much that he came clean." Gutierrez was charged with aggravated kidnapping, but is only one of 5 people involved in these murders. And this activity was not a once-off. He was also involved with 3 other murders. The reason why he did these despicable deeds is the most difficult part to understand. He was only making $160 a week from this gig, which was hardly a king's ransom. If he was selfish enough to disregard the lives of other people, why was he still willing to jeopardize his rap career? The music festival he was scheduled to perform for in 2018 now had to find someone else. The most charitable explanation is that he was offered a job that he was too afraid to turn down. In prison, Gutierrez was placed under special protection on 3 occasions by the judge. He cooperated with the police, so now he has been deemed a snitch and could be killed by cartel members from inside the prison. He was now an enemy of the cartel, but at least behind these prison walls, he was relatively safe. Gutierrez would not face being made into a soup of acid like the film students. The trial is still ongoing and is believed to be taken to the Supreme Court. In another twist, the property they went to film at was allegedly a beauty shop owned by an aunt of one of the students. However, the aunt also allowed the cartel to use this property as a brothel too. She obviously had no idea that these ties would end up killing her own nephew. The reaction of this entire ordeal was met with a sense of shock, but many have argued that given his violent lyrics and videos, we should have seen this coming. Luis Cardenas wrote in a column in the newspaper El Universal, "For 2 years, Omar screamed in his songs that something was very wrong, and millions saw that, and none of us did anything at all. Now, 3 young people are dead, and 1 life is ruined." Some also looked at the broader issues at hand. Luis Gonzalez Perez, the head of the country's Human Rights Commission, said, quote, "What we have to do is to stop this climate of violence, because there's the risk that if there are no jobs, no education, if the young people don't have recreational opportunities, well, the drug cartels are going to recruit them." The young film students had their whole lives ahead of them, and the film that they were going to bring into the world never got made. And let's not forget the talent that Gutierrez showed as a rapper too. But the sight of 3 aspirational young people having their lives taken away from them even tugged on the heartstrings of Guillermo del Toro, who tweeted, quote, "3 students are killed and dissolved in acid. The why is unthinkable. The how is terrifying. There are no words to comprehend the magnitude of this madness." At a film event in Canada, Del Toro spoke about violence in Mexico in incredibly chilling terms, that every moment is almost like a horror movie in itself.
In reality, especially being Mexican, things happen out of nowhere, and that's the real terror. You can be coming out of a dinner and somebody can be shot 10 meters away. You can be lifted from your home in the middle of the night. There is, every time you're in a horror moment in your life in Mexico.
Thank you for watching. Please click on the videos you see in front of you for more.
Wow, that's crazy. But let's see what some viewers had to say in the comments. One viewer said, "You know the reason why he did it? Because you don't say no to the cartel." Another viewer said, "I like how Mexico and the US pretend like there is nothing they can do to stop the cartels." Another viewer said, "You're severely underestimating just how much 160 US dollars weekly really is in Mexico. That's enough to literally make the difference between getting by week to week and living comfortably." What people will do for money. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe for more, and don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.